Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we are continuing our look at the Torment set, and we are looking at Insanity, which is a black and green deck. You know, as it is a Torment Precon, of course it's part black, as they all are. So here we have the deck list. So we have 25 creatures, 6 instants, 3 enchantments, 2 sorceries, 24 land, mana curve off to the side there. Quite a lot of creatures, so let's start looking at them. So, theme of this deck, I guess, is cards that use Madness. So Madness is the mechanic that was introduced in Torment, and it basically means if you discard the card, you can still play it for its Madness effect, and you still get it rather than discarding it. So Basking Root Waller looks so innocent. It's a 1/1 for 1. Has the ability where it can pump itself up for once. But it has Madness 0. So you discard it, you essentially get a free 1/1 into play. Arrogant Worm, 5 mana for a 4/4 trample, has Madness for 2 cards in green. You discard it. You can pay it for 3, and you get a 4/4 trample for 3, which is very, very good. But how are you discarding it? Oh, maybe to Wild Mongrel, which is like one of the best green creatures in the block. 2 mana for a 2/2. Just absolutely free, free discard effect. He gets +1/+1 until end turn and becomes the color of your choice, which is really good. So these three here, are all like culprits of definitely culprits of the time. I think these three cards were showing up a lot in like in standard play and stuff, just because they comboed like so nicely. Like you have Wild Mongrel, you discard, and then next turn, because then that will be turn 3, you discard Arrogant Worm. So you've got 3/3 Wild Mongrel attacking, and also you've got 4/4 Worm ready to go next turn. Just really, really good. 2 Centaur Veterans. This is not so good. People weren't using this one. So 6 mana for a 3/3 with a trample, which is horrible. But you can pay 1 green and discard a card to regenerate him. I don't know why you would. Pretty horrible. But I mean, at least it's a discard outlet late in the game, I suppose. But yeah, still a pretty horrible card. You would have got rid of that as soon as possible, I think. Then a bunch of other random green creatures. So Anarid Scavenger is 3 mana for a 3/3 with protection from black, but you have to sacrifice it at the beginning of turn unless you put a card from your library on the bottom of your card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library, which is in this block pretty. It's pretty bad synergy because you've got a lot of flashback, you've got threshold and stuff. So this kind of actively goes against it. Yeah, but I mean, I guess 3/3 protection from black. Maybe it's worth it. I don't know. Croson Constrictor is just bad. It's 4 mana for a. I don't know what its power and toughness because I covered it up because I'm a clever boy. Has Swamp Walk basically, and it has a tap ability where a black creature gets -2, -0 turn. It's bad. That's all you need to know. It's just very bad. It's probably like a 2/3 or something, or a 2/2 with that cost. Anyway. And then Croson Archer is kind of a bad giant spider. It's 4 mana for a 2/3 with reach, but you can discard a card to give it +0/+2 turn to turn. Again, like pretty weak effect, honestly. That's not really something you want to be discarding a card to. So pretty lackluster array of creatures after going from Arrogant Worm and Root Waller and Wild Mongrel to these. So the 2 rares of the deck are these 2 Nantukos. Nantukas are cool. They're like weird like mantis people. They're pretty cool. So Nantuko Blightcutter is 3 mana for a 2/2 protection from black. When you hit threshold, he gets +1/+1 for every black permanent your opponents control. I'm not wild about that, just because there is a chance that effect can do nothing because it's reliant on an opponent. If it was he gets +1 for every black permanent you control, that's much more interesting. You can control that, you can build around that, but having it rely on your opponent is not wonderful. I don't think that's very good. And then Nantuko Cultivator, 4 mana for a 2/2. When he enters the battlefield, you can discard any number of lands. And then put that many +1/+1 counters on him and draw that many cards. That's pretty good. Just because, like, if you hold on to it late game, maybe you've got a load of lands and you don't need any more lands. I think, playing him and discarding just 2 lands is okay, because then what? He's a 4/4 and you get 2 cards out of it. I think that's okay. He's okay. He's not great. He's just okay. Then we have a bunch of black creatures. So we have 2 Bone Shard Slashers, 2 mana for a 1/1 flyer. When you have Threshold, gets +2/+2, and has, when he becomes the target of a spell or ability, he gets sacrificed, which is obviously not wonderful. Yeah. But I get, it's a, potentially a 3/3 flyer for 2, I suppose, which is all right. 2 Carrion Rats, 1 black mana for a 2/1, which is quite aggressively costed. But whenever he attacks or blocks, any player can remove can exile a card from their graveyard. If they do no damage. Yeah. I mean, I suppose that one way it is eating away at an opponent's graveyard, which I say in this block matters, but I don't know. I think it's kind of okay. Like being a 2/1 for 1. I don't know if it's okay. I mean, like, it's a very small cost to pay to have them do no damage, I suppose. I guess it's all right. Grotesque Hybrid is a little better, I think. So 5 mana for a 3/3. Whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, it gets destroyed. It can't be regenerated. That's quite good. And you can discard a card to give it flying, protection from green, and from white 7/10. That's a very good discard ability. Obviously, means he can be like a really good blocker potentially. He can suddenly like fly into the air, or he can block green and white stuff without fear, or makes him really evasive. Like he flies over ground creatures, or if your opponent's playing green-white, then he just forces a way through. So yeah, Grotesque Hybrid I think is pretty good. For the time at least. Probably a little underwhelming by today's standards, but yeah, I think it's okay. And then Putrid Imp. Oh, lovely Putrid Imp. So yeah, 1 black mana for a 1/1. Discard a card, he gets flying turn. Threshold, gets +1/+1, can't block. I mean, that's not terrible. What makes Putrid Imp really, really great, of course, is that this guy goes so well in like reanimator decks. You probably Wizards of the Coast. You probably shouldn't put a discard effect on that costs nothing on a 1-drop. Because you play Putrid Imp and you just like discard your whole hand. Say like big creatures that you want to reanimate. Yeah. Putrid Imp, not really used as an attacker. He's really there just to facilitate much nastier strategies. But yeah, really like Putrid Imp. Just for that connotation, really. Right, then we have some green spells. So we have a single Narcissism. So this is one of the disorders of the set. This is a whole cycle of enchantments, which basically you pay a cost, discard a card to get an effect, or you could pay the cost, sacrifice itself to get the identical effect. So Narcissism being the green one that's basically let you turn any card in your hand into a it's not quite a giant growth, but it's basically a giant growth. Probably one of the better ones. The blue one is still much, much, much better. The blue one essentially gives all cards in your hand cycling, which is excellent. But Narcissism's pretty good. The other 3 are pretty weak, honestly. As we'll see, because there's one of them in each of the decks. 2 Muscle Bursts, kind of weak to only have 2 of them. I think with the card like this, which has like the increasing effect, like just put 4 in. Just put 4 in. That's what people want to do with it anyway, is have a full playset of them to get maximum effect. 2 Sylvan Might, which is a buff spell with flashbacks, fine. Acorn Harvest, 4 mana, makes 2 squirrels, and you can flash it back by paying 2 and 3 life. Kind of expensive, honestly, at 4 mana just to make 2 1/1s. And that sorcery speed is pretty weak. I guess flashbacking is it worth 3 life though for 2 squirrels? Acorn Harvest pretty weak. Again, there's like this whole cycle of these flashback spells that are very cheap in terms of mana, but require you paying 3 life because that's kind of like the theme. It's in Torment. Ooh, it's all spooky. You got to pay life. Every color feels a bit like black, I guess. But yeah, this is a pretty weak effect. If it was 3 squirrels, that might be all right. But 2 I don't think is really worth it. Two Strength of Lunacy, 2 mana for an aura that gives in the enchanted creature +2/+1 and protection from white, and it has madness, so you can discard it and play it. Yeah, all right, that's pretty good. For 2, I think it's pretty good. You know, if you can get it for madness as well, potentially instant speed, it's quite a good combat trick, I think. Yeah, perfectly fine. 2 Waste Aways. This is, I think, pretty horrible. So 5 mana, you have to discard a card as well, and it gives a creature -5/-5 to end turn. So I mean, -5/-5 is, you know, fairly big. That probably would have killed most things in set, but like 5 mana and discarding a card is a pretty bad cost. I mean, the discard at least has, you know, sort of synergy, I guess, with the other cards, but like, there's no reason this has to be 5 mana. If you're discarding a card as well as an additional cost, this could have been like 2 mana, I guess, potentially even 1. I think. Anyway, yeah, Waste Away is pretty bad. And then 2 Tainted Wood, which is, you know, a hilarious name. Always like saying Tainted Wood, because I'm apparently 10. But anyway, yeah, 2 of those. Taps give you colorless, or tapped gives you black or green, but only if you have a swamp. Yep, these Tainted Lands. These are in every deck in the set. Yeah, it's all right. It's a fairly budget dual land, I suppose, for the time. I know these show up a lot in kind of like Commander products as well, I think, these days. But yeah, I think it's okay. The fact that you can use it for colorless if you for some reason don't have a swamp is okay as well. So what could have been? So I think this deck's again, like, there's some individual cards in here which I think are okay. Obviously, like Wild Mongrel, Arrogant Worm, Basking Rootwaller. Yeah, there's some good individual cards in here, but like the theme feels like a little weak. Because I guess that, you know, the theme is you discard stuff and you pay your madness spells or your flashback spells, but like there's not a great selection of them. Like there weren't a lot of spells with madness in Torment. I think it's only like maybe like 2 per color. So making that kind of, I guess, is the theme is pretty weak. I mean, I suppose you could just argue the theme is just discarding cards for effect, but yeah, it feels a little disjointed. But anyway, these are some cards I think could have been here. Centaur Chieftain is 4 mana for a 3/3 with haste. If you have Threshold, he gives all your creatures +1/+1 and trample on a turn. Diligent Farmhand. No idea why Diligent Farmhand is not in the deck when you don't have when you've got Muscle Burst. You might as well throw in Diligent Farmhand as well. Werebear, another one of the green rogues gallery of Odyssey block, along with Wild Mongrel and Rootwaller and Arrogant Worm. Yeah, you're discarding. You're going to hit Threshold. Werebear's going to turn into a big threat. Crippling Fatigue, just another, you know, good removal, sort of flashback. Psychotic Haze is, you know, essentially a 1 mana is what is a pestilence effect, but it has madness, so it's fine. Possessed Centaur, I think, could have been one of the rares, instead of one of the Nantukos. You know, being a 3/3 trample for 4 is pretty unexciting, but you know, when you have Threshold, he becomes 4/4, and it has this ability to destroy green creatures. It's still not great, but I think it's better than the Blight Cutter. And then I think Zombie Infestation could have worked here as well. You know, this 2 mana enchantment, you discard 2 cards to make a black zombie creature token. I think that would have worked out pretty well in here, but yeah. So in overall, I think this one is, again, like on paper, it seems a little weak. I don't know how it would have played in person exactly. I say, like, some of the individual cards in here are very, very good. I feel like this one I would have bought and probably like dismantled, honestly, and you know, use those Wild Mongrels and Arrogant Worms somewhere else, or yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, a little on the weak side, but I don't know. I didn't play this deck, but I'm hoping someone out there played this deck, and I'd really like to hear your comments. You know, if you had this deck, or you played it, or you made changes to it, how it performed, you know, that kind of thing. Put a comment below. But I'll be back next time to look at another Torment pre-constructed deck. But until then, thank you for watching and listening. Have a great day.